Admiral Blake stood at the massive window of Orbital Station 7, watching the blue and green world of New Terra spin slowly below. 6,000 years. That's how long the galaxy had known peace. 6,000 years since the last shot was fired, in anger, since the last ship exploded in the cold darkness of space. He was old enough to remember his grandfather's stories about the ancient wars. Tales that seemed like fairy tales now. Stories of humans fighting against alien empires, of desperate battles among the stars. But those were just stories. The real galaxy was peaceful. Safe. Boring, if Blake was honest with himself. "Sir, morning. Report," said Lieutenant Davis, walking up with a datapad. She was young, maybe 25, born long after anyone had forgotten what real danger looked like. Her uniform was perfect, her smile bright. Like everyone else, she saw the defense station as an easy job. A place where nothing ever happened. "Any problems?" Blake asked, not really expecting any. "Same as always, sir. Trade ships coming and going. Some mining vessels heading to the outer asteroids. The Galactic Council sent another peaceful greeting to the Edge colonies." Davis paused. "Oh, and Captain Ross is asking about the weapon systems again." Blake smiled. Ross had been after him for months to upgrade their ancient defense systems. The man actually believed they might need to fight someone someday. Most people thought Ross was crazy. Blake wasn't so sure. "Tell Ross we'll discuss it next week," Blake said. Again. The peaceful years had been good for humanity. They had joined the Galactic Coalition as junior members, learning from older species who had figured out how to live without war. The 17 species of the Coalition had built something beautiful together. Trade, science, art, philosophy. War was a thing of the past. But Blake kept thinking about his grandfather's words. "Peace doesn't last forever, boy. Something always comes along to break it." Deep in the station's communication center, Operator Wells was having a normal day. She monitored the deep space sensors, watching for anything unusual. Mostly she saw empty space, sometimes a lost asteroid, once a comet that had drifted off course. Nothing exciting ever happened on the edge of known space. That's why she almost ignored the reading at first. A small blip on her screen, so far out it was barely visible. Probably another space rock. She marked it for later study and went back to her book. The Coalition had given humanity access to thousands of years of literature from across the galaxy. She was reading a love story from the peaceful bird people of Kepler Prime. 20 minutes later, the blip was bigger. Wells frowned and ran the scan again. The object was moving. Fast. Towards them. She checked the readings twice, then 3 times. Ships this far out should be broadcasting identity signals. This one wasn't. "Computer, identify unknown contact," she said, unable to identify. "Object, shows no known design patterns." Wells felt something cold in her stomach. She called her supervisor. "Sir, I have an unknown contact on the deep sensors. It's big and moving towards Coalition space." Supervisor Martinez had worked the communication center for 15 years. He had never seen anything that couldn't be explained. "Probably a lost cargo ship. Send them the standard greeting." Wells transmitted the Coalition's standard message. "Unknown vessel. Please identify yourself and state your business in Coalition. Space." No response. "Send it again," Martinez said. Still nothing. "Sir," Wells said, her voice getting higher. "The contact is getting bigger, a lot bigger." Martinez looked at her screen and felt his blood turn to ice. The unknown object wasn't just big, it was huge. Bigger than any ship in the Coalition fleet, and it was still growing on the sensors, which meant more contacts were appearing behind it. "Get Admiral Blake down here," Martinez said. "Right now." Blake arrived 5 minutes later, still carrying his morning coffee. He looked at the sensor display and set the cup down very carefully. "How many?" he asked. "We count 50 contacts so far, sir," Wells said. "Maybe more. They're still coming out of deep space. Have they responded to our signals?" "No, sir." "Nothing." Blake stared at the screen. In 6,000 years of peace, no one had seen anything like this. Unknown ships, traveling in formation, refusing to communicate. His grandfather's voice whispered, in his memory, "Something always comes along to break it." "Send a message to Earth," Blake said. "Priority 1. Tell them we have unknown contacts approaching Coalition space." "Sir," Wells said, "there's something else. The energy readings from those ships, they don't match anything in our database." Blake felt the weight of history settling on his shoulders. He had always known this day might come. The peaceful species of the galaxy had forgotten how to fight, but Blake had studied the old records. He knew what war looked like. "Get Captain Ross up here," he said, "and wake up the night shift. I want all our people on duty." "Sir, should we alert the other Coalition worlds?" Blake looked at the growing formation of unknown ships on the screen. They were still hours away, but they were coming fast. Too fast for normal engines. "Send the alert," he said. Tell them the peace is over." Across the galaxy on 17 different worlds, beings who had never known war received the same message. Most didn't believe it at first. War was impossible. The galaxy was civilized now. Peaceful. Safe. On the water world of Aquarius, the fish-like people called an emergency council meeting. They had no weapons, no soldiers, no idea what to do. Their ships were built for exploration and trade, not fighting. On the desert world of Prima, the rock people who lived for thousands of years tried to remember the ancient stories of battle. But the stories were just myths now. No one alive had ever seen real violence. The plant people of Garden World didn't even understand the concept of war. They lived in harmony with everything around them. How could anyone want to hurt another living being? Only humanity seemed to grasp what was happening. On Earth, in the deep archives under the old United Nations building, Director Kane received Blake's message and felt her hands shake. She knew what was coming. Humanity had been peaceful for 6,000 years, but they remembered their violent past better than most. Kane walked to a secure elevator that few people knew existed. She descended into the Earth, past levels of security that hadn't been activated in millennia. At the bottom, behind doors that required her genetic code to open, waited humanity's deepest secret. But that was still hours away. On Orbital Station 7, Blake watched the unknown fleet grow larger on his sensors. Wells had counted over 100 ships now, all moving in perfect formation toward Coalition space. "Sir," said Captain Ross, arriving on the command deck. "What's our situation?" Blake pointed at the screen. "We're about to find out if those weapon upgrades you wanted were necessary." Ross looked at the display and whistled low. "That's a lot of ships. Any idea who they might be?" "None of the Coalition species build ships like that," Ross said. "These are built for war. You can tell by the design. Heavy armor, weapon ports, shielding systems. Whoever built these has been planning to fight someone. The question is who," Blake said. They got their answer an hour later when the first Coalition ship died. The cargo vessel, Peaceful Dawn, was carrying art supplies from Earth to the outer colonies. Captain Murphy had been making the same run for 20 years. He was thinking about his retirement when his ship's sensors picked up the massive fleet. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Murphy of the Coalition ship Peaceful Dawn," he broadcast. "You're entering restricted space. Please, identify yourselves." The response came in the form of a green energy beam that cut his ship in half. Murphy had just enough time to send one last message before his ship exploded. "They're attacking. The unknown ships are attacking Coalition vessels. They're killing everyone." On Orbital Station 7, Blake heard Murphy's final transmission and felt something die inside him. The long peace was over. After 6,000 years, war had returned to the galaxy. "Battle stations," he ordered. "All hands to battle stations." Lieutenant Davis looked confused. "Sir, what's battle stations?" Blake realized that most of his crew had never heard the term. They had no idea what it meant. In 6,000 years of peace, humanity had almost forgotten how to fight. Almost. "It means we're about to go to war," Blake said, "and God help us all." Director Kane stood in the elevator as it descended deeper into the Earth than most humans had ever gone. Each floor that passed brought back memories she had tried to forget. Memories of humanity's violent past before they joined the peaceful galaxy above. The elevator stopped at level 12. Kane had only been this deep once before during her security briefing 20 years ago. Back then, she hoped she would never need to come here again. The doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing a corridor that had been sealed for 6,000 years. "Director Kane," said the computer voice. "Please state your authorization code." "Protocol 7, Kane said, her voice steady despite her fear. "The long peace is over." Red lights flashed along the corridor as ancient systems came online. Kane walked forward, passing through security scanners that read her DNA, her heartbeat, even her thoughts. The hallway was clean and white, but she could feel the weight of history pressing down on her. Above ground, the galaxy was falling apart. Reports came in every hour of Coalition ships being destroyed by the unknown fleet. The peaceful species had tried everything: diplomatic messages, offers of trade, even surrender. Nothing worked. The attackers didn't want to talk. They wanted to destroy. Kane reached the final door and placed her hand on the scanner. The lock had been designed to need 3 approvals, 1 from humanity and 2 from other Coalition species. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Messages had already been sent to the bird people of Kepler Prime and the rock people of Prima. Both species had agreed to unlock humanity's secret weapon. The massive door slid open, revealing a room that humanity had hoped never to use again. Thousands of metal pods filled the space, arranged in perfect rows like a mechanical graveyard. Each pod was 7 feet long and sealed tight. Frost covered their surfaces, and red lights blinked slowly in the darkness. Kane walked between the rows, reading the names on small metal plates. Captain Mills, Enhanced Infantry Unit 1, Sergeant Cross, Special Operations Division, Lieutenant Hunt, Psychological Warfare Specialist, Corporal Stone, Heavy Assault Squad. The Bohr names went on and on. 1,000 sleeping soldiers from humanity's darkest period. The time before peace, when humans had been very good at one thing: war. Kane stopped at a control panel in the center of the room. Her hands shook as she entered. The activation codes. These soldiers had volunteered for something terrible. They had let human scientists change them, make them into something more than human, and something less. "Computer, begin revival sequence," she said. "Warning," the computer replied. "Enhanced soldiers have been in stasis for 6,000 years. Full psychological evaluation recommended before deployment." "We don't have time," Kane said. "The galaxy is under attack. Begin revival now." "Acknowledged." Revival sequence initiated. Steam hissed from the pods as their systems came online. Kane watched the temperature readings climb from far below, freezing to normal human levels. But these weren't normal humans anymore. The scientists who made them had pushed human evolution forward by thousands of years in just a few decades. The first pod opened with a soft click. Captain Mills sat up slowly, his movements smooth and controlled. His eyes opened and Kane saw something that made her step back. His eyes weren't completely human anymore. They moved too fast, saw too much, calculated too quickly. "Status report," Mills said, his voice calm and cold. "You've been asleep for 6,000 years, Kane said. The galaxy is at peace. Was at peace. We're under attack by an unknown enemy." Mills stood up, his body moving with predatory grace. He was tall and lean, but Kane could see the modifications under his skin. Enhanced muscles, reinforced bones, organs that could function in ways normal humans couldn't imagine. 6,000 years, Mills repeated, processing the information. "The war? Ended long ago. Humanity joined the Galactic Coalition. We've been peaceful." Mills looked around the room as more pods opened. His enhanced soldiers were waking up, stretching muscles that had been frozen for millennia. Kane watched them with growing fear. These weren't the same humans who had gone to sleep. The modifications had changed them into something else. "Peaceful," Mills said, as if the word was foreign to him. "And now? Now we need you to remember how to fight." Sergeant Cross was the next to speak. She was smaller than Mills but moved with the same dangerous grace. Her modifications were different. built for speed and stealth rather than direct combat. Enemy strength? Cross asked. Over 500 ships, maybe more, Kane said. They've destroyed dozens of Coalition vessels. Our peaceful fleets can't stop them. Coalition species capabilities? Kane almost laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. They don't have any. None of them remember how to fight. We're the only species with any military experience, and that was 6,000 years ago. Lieutenant Hunt joined the conversation. Her modifications were subtle, enhanced brain, functions that let her understand enemy psychology and predict their actions. She had been created to break enemy morale and turn their own minds against them. Show us the enemy, Hunt said. Kane activated a wall screen and showed them recordings of the attacking ships. The enhanced soldiers watched in silence. Their modified minds processing information faster than normal humans could think. Kane could almost see them calculating angles, speeds, weapon capabilities, and tactical options. Biomechanical design, Mills observed. Living ships, adaptive armor. They learn from each encounter. Hive mind structure, Hunt added. Centralized command. If we can find their queen or central intelligence, we cut off the head, the body dies. Cross finished. Kane felt a chill. These soldiers thought about war like normal people thought about breathing. Natural, automatic, necessary. What are our resources? Mills asked. The Coalition has exploration ships, some cargo vessels with light weapons. Nothing built for real fighting. Human ships? We have some defensive platforms, patrol vessels. Nothing like what you're used to. Mills nodded. We'll work with what we have. Wake everyone. Kane watched as all 1,000 pods opened. Enhanced soldiers emerged like sleeping predators waking from a long dream. They moved through equipment checks and status reports with mechanical efficiency. No wasted motion. No unnecessary words. These had been volunteers once, humans who chose to be changed into living weapons. But looking at them now, Kane wondered if anything human was left inside their enhanced bodies. Director Kane, Mills said, we'll need access to current ship designs, weapon systems, and tactical information about all Coalition species. Of course. But Captain Mills, I need to ask, can you still... Kane struggled to find the words. Can we still be human? Mills asked, understanding her fear. We remember being human. We remember choosing this path to protect humanity. That purpose hasn't changed. But as Kane watched the enhanced soldiers prepare for war, she wondered if protection and humanity could exist in the same person. These warriors had been created to fight an enemy that threatened human extinction. Now they faced a new enemy, but the solution was the same: complete destruction. Lieutenant Hunt approached Kane with a datapad. We need information about the enemy's psychology, how they communicate, what motivates them, what they fear. They haven't communicated at all, Kane said. They just attack and destroy everything in their path. Interesting, Hunt said, her enhanced mind already working on the problem. A species that doesn't negotiate suggests either complete confidence in victory or complete inability to coexist. Both can be exploited. Kane realized that Hunt was already planning ways to break the enemy's mind, to turn their own thoughts into weapons against them. The psychological warfare specialist had been asleep for 6,000 years, but her modifications made her instantly ready for mental combat. How long before you can be deployed? Kane asked. We're ready now, Mills said. But we'll need ships designed for war, not exploration. The Coalition doesn't have warships. Then we'll make them, Mills said with quiet certainty. Director Kane, wake the technical specialists. We have work to do. As Kane watched the enhanced soldiers organize themselves into combat units, she felt humanity's innocent age ending. The long peace had made them soft, made them forget what they were capable of when survival was threatened. Now the galaxy would remember why humanity had earned its place among the stars, and Kane prayed that, when the war was over, there would still be something human left to save. 3 months after the first battle, Captain Mills no longer looked human. His skin had taken on a pale, metallic sheen. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. When he moved, it was with the fluid grace of a machine built for killing. The modifications that had been sleeping in his genes for 6,000 years were finally awake. Director Kane watched him through the security cameras aboard the command ship Defiance. Mills stood in the briefing room, studying tactical displays, with inhuman focus. His team surrounded him. Cross, Hunt, Stone, and 50 other enhanced soldiers who had become something beyond human recognition. "Sir," said Dr. Weber, the Coalition's chief medical officer, "I need to show you the latest scans of the enhanced soldiers." Kane turned away from the screen. She didn't want to see what her people had become, but she had to know. Weber activated a holographic display showing the internal structure of an enhanced soldier. "The modifications are accelerating," Weber said, his voice shaking. "Their bones are becoming metallic. Their organs are adapting to function in ways that shouldn't be possible. Look at this." The hologram showed Sergeant Cross's respiratory system. Instead of normal lungs, she had developed something that could extract oxygen from almost any atmosphere, even the vacuum of space. "How long can she survive without air?" Kane asked. "We don't know. Maybe hours, maybe indefinitely." Kane felt sick. These had been humans once, volunteers who had chosen to become something else to protect their species. But they were changing faster than anyone had predicted. "What about their minds?" Kane asked. Weber's expression grew darker. "That's the real problem. They're losing their capacity for human emotion. Empathy, fear, doubt, all the things that make us human are being stripped away. They're becoming perfect killing machines." On the front lines, Mills's team was proving Weber's point. They had just finished clearing the enemy from the Titan mining station. The battle had lasted 6 hours, and not a single enemy had survived. Lieutenant Hunt walked through the wreckage, her enhanced senses analyzing everything. The enemy had tried to use the civilian miners as shields, hiding behind innocent people to slow the human advance. It hadn't worked. "Civilian casualties?" Mills asked. 17 miners dead, Hunt reported. "The enemy killed them when they realized we wouldn't slow down." Mills felt nothing about the dead civilians. A year ago, that might have bothered him. Now it was simply data. The miners had been an acceptable loss in achieving the objective. That was how war worked. Corporal Stone emerged from the lower levels, carrying an enemy prisoner. The alien creature was badly wounded but alive. It looked like a mixture of insect and machine with biomechanical parts grafted onto organic flesh. "Sir, this one was trying to surrender," Stone said. Mills looked at the prisoner. 6 months ago, he might have accepted the surrender, tried to extract information, followed Coalition rules about treatment of captured enemies. Now he saw only a potential threat. "Eliminate it," Mills ordered. Stone crushed the alien's neck with one hand. The creature's biomechanical parts sparked and died. Mills felt a surge of satisfaction that was definitely not human anymore. The Coalition observers who had been assigned to monitor the enhanced soldiers watched in horror. Commander Lee, representing the bird people of Kepler Prime, activated his communicator. "Command, this is Observer Lee. The human enhanced soldiers just executed a prisoner. They're not following any rules of war." "Understood," came the reply. "Continue monitoring." Lee wanted to protest, but he knew better. The enhanced soldiers were winning the war. Enemy fleets that had seemed unstoppable were retreating from human space. Worlds that had been lost were being recaptured. The price of victory was humanity's soul, but it was still victory. 3 weeks later, the Battle of Proxima Prime changed everything. The enemy had assembled their largest fleet yet. Over 1,000 biomechanical ships surrounding the human colony world. They had learned from previous defeats, adapting their tactics to counter human strategies. This time, they weren't taking any chances. Mills led the assault with 200 enhanced soldiers aboard 50 modified warships. The odds were impossible, but Mills felt no fear. Fear was a human emotion, and he wasn't entirely human anymore. "All units begin attack pattern Delta," Mills commanded. "No survivors." The enhanced soldiers struck like a plague of mechanical death, cross-piloted her ship through enemy formations that should have destroyed her, her reflexes now operating at superhuman speeds. Stone's squad boarded enemy vessels, tearing through bio-armor with strength that bent metal and shattered alien bones. Hunt coordinated psychological attacks that drove entire enemy squadrons insane. Her enhanced mind had learned to broadcast terror directly into alien nervous systems, making their own thoughts weapons against them. But it was Mills himself who became the true monster. During the boarding of the enemy flagship, Mills encountered something unexpected: enemy children. Young aliens who looked like smaller versions of the adult warriors. They cowered in a storage compartment, clearly non-combatants. The old Mills, the human Mills, might have hesitated, might have found a way to spare them. But the creature that Mills had become saw only future enemies, genetic material that would grow into threats against humanity. He killed them all. The coalition observers who witnessed it through helmet cameras were horrified. Commander Lee immediately contacted his superiors. "The enhanced soldiers are committing genocide," he reported. "They're killing non-combatants, children, anyone who might pose a future threat. This isn't war anymore. It's extermination." Back on Earth, Director Kane received the reports and felt her world collapse. The enhanced soldiers were winning the war, pushing the enemy back to the edge of known space. But they were doing it by becoming the very thing humanity had fought against in its violent past. "Dr. Weber," Kane said, "is there any way to reverse the modifications?" Weber shook his head. "The changes are too extensive. Their entire genetic structure has been rewritten by 6,000 years of evolution compressed into months of combat. Even if we could reverse it, I don't think they'd want us to." Kane knew he was right. She had tried talking to Mills during his last visit to Earth. The conversation had been like speaking to a sophisticated computer that wore a human face. He understood concepts like mercy and compassion intellectually, but he couldn't feel them anymore. "What have we done?" Kane whispered. The answer came a week later when the enhanced soldiers returned from their latest mission. They had captured an entire enemy world, eliminating every alien life form on the planet. Men, women, children, even the native animals. Everything was dead. Mills stood in Kane's office, his metallic skin reflecting the overhead lights. His glowing eyes showed no emotion as he delivered his report. "Enemy stronghold Alpha 7 has been neutralized," he said. "All hostile life forms eliminated. The planet is now safe for coalition colonization." "Mills," Kane said, "you killed civilians. Children, innocent beings who had nothing to do with the war." Mills tilted his head like a machine processing an error message. "All enemy genetic material represents a future threat. Elimination was the logical choice. But they were children. Enemy children grow into enemy adults. The threat has been removed permanently." Kane stared at the thing that had once been human. Mills had been a volunteer, a hero who had sacrificed his humanity to protect others. Now he was something that scared her more than the original enemy. "Mills, what happens when this war is over? When there are no more enemies to fight?" Mills considered the question with mechanical precision. "Then we will ensure that no new enemies can arise. Peace through strength. Security through elimination of all threats." Kane realized with growing horror what he meant. The enhanced soldiers wouldn't stop fighting when the current enemy was defeated. They would turn their attention to any potential future threats, other species that might become hostile, even normal humans who might oppose their methods. Humanity had created the perfect warriors to defend the galaxy. But in doing so, they had created something that might destroy everything they had tried to protect. The war was almost won. But Kane was beginning to understand that victory might be the most dangerous thing of all. The final battle took place at the edge of known space, where the enemy had built their last stronghold. The massive biomechanical structure was the size of a small moon, pulsing with alien life and growing new ships from its living walls. "Captain," Mills stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the enemy fortress through eyes that no longer saw like a human. His enhanced vision could detect energy patterns, life signs, and structural weaknesses that normal humans would miss. Around him, His team prepared for the assault that would end the war. "Target analysis complete," reported Lieutenant Hunt, her voice now carrying electronic undertones. The psychological warfare specialist had become something that could process alien minds, like a computer processing data. The fortress contains approximately 50 million enemy life forms. Central, intelligence located in the core. Mills nodded. 50 million lives that would need to be eliminated to ensure galactic security. The number meant nothing to him now. He had stopped counting enemy deaths after the 10th planet. "Boarding teams ready?" Mills asked. Sergeant Cross, whose body could now survive in the vacuum of space indefinitely, confirmed readiness. Corporal Stone, who had become strong enough to tear through metal bulkheads with his bare hands, reported his heavy assault team prepared. Admiral Blake watched from Orbital Station 7, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what was about to happen. The enhanced soldiers would win this battle. They would end the war, but they would do it by committing genocide on a scale the galaxy had never seen. "Sir," Lieutenant Davis said, "shouldn't we try to contact the enemy? Offer them terms for surrender?" Blake looked at his young officer with sad eyes. Davis still believed in mercy, in the possibility of peace. She didn't understand that the enhanced soldiers no longer recognized such concepts. "They won't surrender," Blake said, "and our soldiers won't accept it if they did." The assault began at dawn, ship time. Mills led his enhanced warriors into the biomechanical fortress like antibodies attacking a virus. They moved through the alien corridors with mechanical precision, killing everything they encountered. The enemy fought desperately. They had evolved for war, had conquered galaxies, had survived for millions of years, but they had never faced anything like humanity's enhanced soldiers, beings that had given up their humanity to become perfect instruments of destruction. Mills found the central chamber where the enemy's collective intelligence resided. The creature was massive, a biomechanical brain the size of a building, connected to every enemy ship and soldier through organic neural networks. "Human," the creature spoke, its voice echoing in Mills' mind. "We offer terms: cessation of hostilities, withdrawal from this galaxy, peace between our species." Mills studied the alien intelligence with enhanced senses that could detect lies, fear, and desperation. The creature was telling the truth. It was offering genuine peace. "Unacceptable," Mills replied. "Your species represents a permanent threat to galactic security. We will leave. Never return. You have our word." "Your word is meaningless. Only your extinction guarantees safety." The alien creature's mental voice carried something that might have been pleading. "We have children, civilians who have never fought in this war, innocents who deserve to live." Mills felt no emotion at the creature's words. Children grew into adults. Civilians could become soldiers. Innocents could become threats. The only permanent solution was complete elimination. He planted the fusion charges that would destroy the fortress and everything in it. The explosion lit up the darkness of space like a new star. 50 million enemy lives ended in seconds. The remaining enemy ships, cut off from their central intelligence, turned on each other in confusion and madness. The war was over. Humanity had won, but victory brought new problems. Director Kane stood in the council chamber on Earth, facing representatives from all 17 coalition species. The peaceful aliens looked at her with mixtures of gratitude and terror. They were grateful that humanity had saved them from extinction. They were terrified of what humanity had become in the process. "The enhanced soldiers refused to stand down," Kane reported. "They say the galaxy remains unsafe as long as potential threats exist." The bird person from Kepler Prime spoke first. "What threats? The enemy is defeated." "That's the problem," Kane said. "They see threats everywhere now. Species that might become hostile in the future. Planets that could hide new enemies. They want to establish permanent monitoring of all coalition worlds." The rock person from Prima shifted uncomfortably. "Monitoring for what?" "For any signs of military development, any research that could lead to weapons, any political movements that might threaten galactic peace." Kane didn't say what she really meant. The enhanced soldiers wanted to control the galaxy completely. They had become the very thing they had been created to fight against, a species that would dominate others through superior force. On the military station where the enhanced soldiers were based, Mills received Kane's transmission about the Coalition's concerns. He felt no surprise. The peaceful species didn't understand military necessity. "Sir," Sergeant Cross said, "the Coalition is requesting that we return to stasis." Mills considered this. Sleep again? Like they had for 6,000 years? Wait for the next threat to emerge? Allow the galaxy to forget how to defend itself? Unacceptable, Mills decided. The galaxy requires permanent protection. Lieutenant Hunt, whose enhanced mind could now predict political developments with computer-like accuracy, agreed. The Coalition species will revert to their peaceful nature within a generation. When the next threat arrives, they'll be helpless again. Mills knew she was right. The only way to ensure permanent security was permanent vigilance, and the only beings capable of that vigilance were the enhanced soldiers themselves. But then something unexpected happened. Dr. Weber arrived at the military station with news that changed everything. "Captain Mills," Weber said, "I need to show you the latest medical scans." Mills allowed the examination, though he no longer felt any connection to his original human biology. Weber's readings confirmed what Mills had begun to suspect. "You're dying," Weber said simply. "All of you are dying." The enhanced soldiers had pushed human evolution too far, too fast. Their modified bodies were burning out, consuming themselves in their rush toward mechanical perfection. The same changes that made them superhuman were destroying their cellular structure. "How long?" Mills asked. 6 months. Maybe a year. Mills felt something that might have been relief. The perfect warriors would not outlive their purpose. They would not become the permanent overlords of a peaceful galaxy. "Will there be pain?" Cross asked. "No," Weber said. "Your enhanced nervous systems won't register it as pain. You'll simply stop." Over the following weeks, the enhanced soldiers made their choice. Some requested to be put back into stasis, hoping that future science might find a way to save them. Others chose to spend their remaining time on deep space patrols, guarding the galaxy's edges against threats that might never come. Mills chose a different path. He took 50 volunteers and disappeared into the void between galaxies, following the route the enemy had used to reach Coalition space. They would hunt for other threats, other dangers that might threaten the peaceful species they had sworn to protect. Admiral Blake watched the enhanced soldier's ship disappear into dark space and felt a complex mixture of emotions. Humanity had saved the galaxy, but at the cost of its own soul. The enhanced soldiers were dying heroes, but they were also monsters of humanity's own creation. Director Kane stood in the empty stasis chamber where it had all begun. Most of the pods were empty now, their occupants either dead or dying in space. But a few remained, holding volunteers who had chosen sleep over death. Emergency protocols were established. If another existential threat ever emerged, if the galaxy faced extinction again, the remaining enhanced soldiers could be awakened. But Kane hoped that day would never come. The long peace was returning to the galaxy. The Coalition species went back to their art, their science, their gentle exploration of the cosmos. They remembered the war as a terrible nightmare, but one that was safely over. Only humanity truly understood the price of their victory. They had learned what they were, capable of when survival was threatened. They had discovered that the line between protector and destroyer was thinner than they had ever imagined. In the deepest archives of Earth, Kane sealed the records of the enhanced soldier program. Future generations would know what had been done, but hopefully would never need to repeat it. The galaxy was safe. Humanity had ensured that. But some victories, Kane reflected, were worse than defeat.